product of the Boston Public Schools. I have a master's in education. I've worked for several organizations in Boston. My career started in banking. And from banking, I went to work for the city of Boston, the Elderly Commission. Then I went to work for a wonderful organization called the Mass Affordable Housing Alliance, MAHA. And what they do, help first-time home owners by training them and teaching them about that home buying process. And I don't know if you remember back in the late 80s, 90s when they started redlining. They took a red line and went right through Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan so that people couldn't purchase homes, or they were using, they were looking at people's houses and giving them all these subprime loans and just making it very difficult for black people and people of color in these areas. So MAHA started a program that they called it a soft second mortgage, which is now called the One Mortgage. And since its inception, they have helped over 20,000 people purchase homes in Massachusetts.
That's great, that's great, that's great.
Then I went back to work for the city of Boston, and I ran their payroll for over 17 years. Okay. And so that was very interesting. It was a lot of work, and but I'm glad that I had that experience. I retired from the city of Boston in 2010, and I helped found an organization called Mothers for Justice and Equality. It's an organization that works with mothers of homicide victims, and so they're still around. They've been doing, you know, a lot of work in the community.
Are they connected with Mothers Walk for Peace?
They're not connected, but they sometimes you'll see some of their members participating in that walk. Which is that Walk for Peace is Tina Cherry. Okay. And she lost her son to violence. He was 15 years old. That's where the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute was born.
Okay.
It's been about 23 years.
That's a long time. That's a long time. And, you know, that's a lot of great work that I know a lot of women do in the community, because I always walk for peace every year. You know?
Right, right. I have a sister, well, I actually have two sisters that lost their kids to violence, so, but it's real. And these are some of the things that we need to look at. And this is one of the things that I would look at as a city council at large. Why is there so much violence in our community? You know, I believe a lot of it is trauma. I believe it's racism. I believe it's parents not being able to really look and take care of their children because they're working 2 and 3 jobs. The fact that there's a lot of single parent homes, you know, so I think these are some of the problems. But I believe also that they can be solved, you know, by bringing our young folks together and giving them a voice.
That's right. So why you running for
city council?
City council.
Because I feel like I'm already doing the work. You know, me and my husband started a nonprofit called the Black Economic Justice Institute. We started it when we were protesting the Bruce Boland building. The Bruce Boland building, which was the old Ferdinand building, is now where the school department administration office is.
In Dudley.
In Dudley Station. And so they talked about, before it was even built, they were talking about, oh, we're going to bring all this wealth to Roxbury. Oh, we're going to bring all these jobs, new jobs. There weren't no new jobs. They basically transferred over 500 jobs from downtown into Roxbury. And of course, you know, that wasn't the beginning of gentrification, because we've known gentrification since Beacon Hill. You know, we've always, as black people, always been being pushed out of our communities and not being able to secure good housing. And so a lot of people that live in Roxbury, especially Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan, are renters. So if you look in the sky, you see all these cranes, you know, and so that means that construction is booming.
Yep, I hear it morning and night everywhere I go in Dorchester, Roxbury, and the Boston area, and it's sad because it's not for us. I know it's not for us at all.
Right.
You know, they call it affordable housing, but it's not.
What really is affordable? That word, it just gets you know, people just float that word around, but affordable, how can you have affordable housing when you're using outside of Boston areas for the medium income, you know? I mean, they should look at Boston itself. Right. But they don't. And so there's a lot a lot of change I would like to see. I was born and raised in Boston. I know the history of Boston, you know, and I know that Boston has been known as a racist city, and I believe that it is. I believe that we have two Bostons, the have and the have-nots, you know, and I believe that Boston is strong, but there are some examples of Boston being wrong. And I would like to help work with my other colleagues and the community. I think the developers and some of these colleges need to be brought to the table and really work within our community, because gentrification is alive and well. Everybody from all over the city, East Boston, they're being kicked out. You know, Charlestown people, they're trying to push out a post office in Charlestown so that a CVS can expand. I mean, really? You know, it's just, these things are happening all over the city. And what I would like to do is bring community together, our neighborhood, so that we can really have a voice and have a veto voice to say, no, I don't want that development here. No, I don't want that developer here.
What are your top 3 priorities for the community?
So my top 3 priorities are jobs, economic development, which is all part of jobs, gentrification, housing, and education.
That sounds great. Okay, so what changes will you bring to the city?
So one of the things that I would really like to see is, so we have a lot of young folks who are homeless, who don't have nowhere to live, they're couch surfing. I would like to see a program where our young people could get a skill, learn, get placed in a job, and also be able to have housing that they could afford to live in. We have a lot of schools that are closing. What are they doing with these closed schools? They're building condos. Why build condos out of a closed school when you could use that to house young people as well as veterans? A lot of times you know, you have mixed people in elderly housing, you know. I mean, it's not no more elderly housing. There's a lot of people that have mental health issues, you know, drug issues that live in elderly housing. And so I believe that you know, they keep building. They're building, building, building. But what about the homes and the buildings that are already here? What about some of these properties that the city owns that they have taken from people for taxes? What are you going to do with them? The developers seem like they run the Boston, and you know, we've had city councils, we've had mayors, and it doesn't get any better.
Right. Cool. You have your book there. Tell me a little bit about your book, Priscilla.
Oh, okay. This is my book. I look back and wonder how I got over. It's actually about my life and my trials and tribulations and how God brought me through. I lost 2 of my children. I lost my first son at 4 in a fire, and I lost my second son in a car accident at the age of 7. So that was very traumatizing for me, and I went through a lot of ups and downs, but by the grace of God, I'm here alive and well, and I'm ready to help move the city forward.
That sounds great. Can we purchase that book? Where can we get that book?
You can go on Amazon, or you could call me at 617-515-6908, and I would get a copy to you.
Okay. Tell me a little something about Black Economic Justice, what you mentioned in the beginning.
Right. So the Black Economic Justice Institute is an organization that me and my husband, Brother Lowe, we co-founded. It started at the Bruce Boland building when we were protesting. We were up every morning from 6 to 9 out there protesting. We organized clergy, elected officials, business owners, residents, and every morning we were out there protesting that building until they did something about it. See, there's an ordinance, it's called the Boston Resident Job Policy, that the late Bruce C. Boland wrote and had it, and the city council voted on it, and Mayor Ray Flynn in 1986 actually was supposed to implement it. You know, he signed the paper for it to be a law or ordinance, and really, it really hasn't been enforced.
They touched on a new probably.
Right, and they weren't holding the developers accountable. The Boston Resident Ordinance said there should be 50% Boston residents, 25% people of color, and 10% females. And that was not happening at all, especially on that Bruce C. Boland building. So we were there, we were monitoring the project, and we saw that, you know, you don't have a lot of Boston residents, you don't have a lot of people of color, and you don't hardly have any women. And so we stopped protesting, and they came into compliance, and then we moved to 225 Center Street, where they were building that big building right there in front of Jackson Square.
Okay.
The same thing was going on.
Yeah.
And we went out to East Boston to help some of the airport workers. We were in Chinatown when they were building Millennium Towers, where the old Filene's basement used to be. We went to Ink Block, you know, and then we also went to, we had to come back to Roxbury to Tropical Foods because they promised to pay their workers $50 an hour to build it and only wind up paying them $11 to $15.
Wow.
And that's, we were part of the Boston Jobs Coalition, and that's where we wrote up a good job standard, you know, that if these jobs, it doesn't matter if they're union or non-union, it should be prevailing wage. 75% of the jobs that come from the construction should be permanent jobs. Because we know a lot of people work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And it's not fair. How can you raise your family if you're working 2 and 3 jobs?
So they're worried about daycare. Daycare's so
Exactly.
expensive. You know?
It's very expensive. And one of the things that I know that people, the women in the union, because a lot of women wanted to work in construction, but they were concerned about their children. You know, because in construction, your hours are like 6 to 2 or 7 to 3. So that means you have to be out your house at least by 5 a.m. Wow. You know, who's going to take care of your child? So I know there were a couple of organizations that are looking at maybe 24-hour daycare, or, you know, daycare from 12 to 12 or something, so that these mothers could go and drop their children off and feel safe and be able to work and make good money. Because women that work in the union, that are in the union and work in the trades, they make good money.
I know.
Yeah, very good money. And so, I mean, you could buy a house, being in the trades. There's a lot of things, you know, and as black and brown people, we have been shut out of that, you know. So now they realize that, and so now they are trying to do different things.
Yes, I noticed that. Does your husband plan on being active, playing an active role in your campaign?
I hope so. My husband, he's now the head of BG, our organization. So
tell us a little bit about BG. What is that?
So BG is the Black Economic Justice Institute, and we advocate for jobs in our community. We started like an initiative called the Blue Hill Corridor Planning Commission, where we were meeting once a month. We actually shut down. We stopped the liquor store from coming into Grove Hall. We shut down Stop and Shop because of its rodent problem, and we helped a contract of color obtain from the zoning board a license to build Breezeway Laundromat. So BG is an advocacy organization. We also have a radio station broadcast on Boston Praise Radio every Thursday from 8 to 10. It used to be the BG Report from 8 to 9, and then People Power with Priscilla from 9 to 10. Okay. But since I am now a candidate for City Council at large, I had to turn over the whole reins to my husband, and now he just do what he want to do. They don't even call it People Power with Priscilla anymore. They call it the BG Report. Wow. 1 and 2. So they just ease me right out. But because it's a low-power radio station, it's for community. We just want to make sure that there's nothing that the FCC will come in and shut it down, because any excuse, you know what they did to the Touch 106.1 FM. So we make sure, and it's also TV. They're on the internet. There's over 35 different platforms, and so I miss it.
Yeah, I tune in sometime. Yeah. And if you was to have the audience to want to get in touch with you, or tell them where they'd be able to vote for you, just tell people. Okay, so September 24th is Election Day, and I'm running citywide. So you can vote for me in East Boston, you can vote for me in West Roxbury, Jamaica Plain, Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, South End, Chinatown, Austin, Brighton, the entire city of Boston. I always say any place that Marty Walsh is the mayor, they can vote for me. Yeah.
And so,
Priscilla Banks, Flint Banks.
I have a website. It's PriscillaForBoston.com. You can go on there and find out some of the work that I've done and some other things that I would like to do when I do get elected to office. And you can call at 857-576-2174. And you can also email me at priscillaforboston@gmail.com.
All right.
I'm on
Tell them one more
Facebook,
time.
priscillaforboston@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All right.
And so I'm excited about this race. This is my first time running. I've helped a lot of other people get into office.
I
And
know,
so
your name traveled. I heard so much great stuff about you, and I am feeling over. I can't wait to be on your team to help you so you can get out there.
I really appreciate it. I need all the help I can get. I'm looking for young folks. I'm looking for middle-aged folks. I even got a couple old folks. But, you know, people that speak different languages. You know, Hispanic. We have a woman that speaks Spanish that's just joined our team. We need people that speak Chinese because we want to be able to get literature so that people that pick it up can understand it. You know, we know that we have a lot of people from all over the world here. You know, and everybody don't speak English, so it's nice to be able to give somebody something that they can understand in their own language.
I feel your most important problem that you're gonna combat is the homelessness. I feel it.
Yeah. Well, I've been homeless, so I know how it feels to be homeless. I was homeless. I lived in a shelter, and it was not a pretty sight because I had my first apartment when I was 17 years old. So I always had a job, and I always took care of myself, and always had my own place to stay. So when I became homeless in 1995, it was very devastating to me, you know, and. But when I got out of there, God said, "You'll never be homeless again."
Great.
And He has blessed me to be able to have a home. Great. And I'm not a renter anymore.
All right.
Know? And so, because you have to in Boston, if you don't own property in Boston, you're gonna be pushed out. And I always advocate. I tell people that you should try to connect with your family members, you know, because what they're doing, they're taking 2 and 3 family houses and they're turning them into condos. I think that needs to stop. Come on, you know, you're basically just pushing people out of this city. Yes. That's what's going on, and I would work with my other city councilors and colleagues to stop it. Like you know, it's funny that everybody said they want to stop it, but ain't nobody stopped it yet, you know.
I see a lot of women and people now that's getting vouchers or getting housing, and they can't even move in Boston.
Right.
They have to move way out somewhere where they're disconnected from their families, they have no services, and they end up being homeless again.
That's true. It's like a revolving door, you know. And of course the city, you know, they say that they want to combat the homelessness, but I mean, I have literally stepped out of Haymarket Station and seen people sleeping on mattresses outside the Haymarket Station. There's no need for that. How? First of all, where did the mattresses come from? You know, you know, it's sad. But they say, oh, Boston is a world-class city. You know, Boston has a lot of bad history. Busing, the Chuck Stewart incident. You know, stabbing Ted Lancemark with an American flag. I mean. Boston, you know, that's one of the things that we need to talk about. Yes. You know, we need to talk about this black versus white. Look at the fact. Black wealth, $8. White wealth, $247,500. Really? And this just a couple weeks ago. Black and brown people got 1% of $664 million in contracts. You know? I mean, come on, for real?
The numbers are low.
Yes, very low. And so,
do better.
Exactly. Well, that's what Michelle Wu said. We got to do better. She's been city council for how long now?
She haven't did anything. I'm telling y'all, she haven't did anything. I don't see anything done. It's getting worse.
Yeah, it is.
The housing is getting worse, but I know you're gonna do more. You're gonna do better. You know, just by hearing your story, because you wanna do more for the city of Boston.
Right.
You know, you want to see us get better.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be on that team.
Well, I'm proud you're on my team because I need all the help I can get. I'm telling you. People can also go to my website, www.priscillaforboston.com.
Are you on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook. Yep. Right. Like me on Facebook.
Yes.
There's a
share and
yes.
Like.
And I have a donate button on every page of my website because it does take a lot of money to run, especially an at-large seat. But I have been blessed. And
when's your next? When's your next fundraiser?
So I'm having a fundraiser on June 19th. Attorney Eddie Jenkins is giving me a fundraiser at his office.
That's at Juneteenth. That's not Juneteenth, is it?
That is original Juneteenth, yes.
Are you going to be up there on Juneteenth?
Well, that's that sad. Of course I'm going to be up there.
Right. Yes, we'll be up there.
Yes, yes. We're going to have a little spot. We're going to make us a little, space because I was born and raised in Boston. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends that have left Boston, went to Atlanta, went to all over. But, so a lot of them come back for Juneteenth, and that's where,
Spot is.
Yes. Yes.
Right. I guess that's the ending of my show, guys.
Wow.
You guys stay tuned for part 2. We'll be coming back again. So stay back.